We are taught to listen for lies, to parse sentences for inconsistencies, to catch the slip of a tongue. But this is a child's game, a crude and clumsy hunt. The true student of human nature does not listen for the lie. He watches it being born. The lie is not born in the mouth. It is conceived in the gut, and its first tremors are felt in the body long before the mind has finished its clumsy work of dressing it in language. It is a shadow that arrives before the man who casts it, a ripple in a glass of water before the table is ever touched. You can feel it in the air, a sudden drop in temperature, a change in the room's pressure. The space between you and the other person becomes charged, thick with an unspoken effort. It's the subtle tightening of a string on a violin just before the discordant note is played. The truth is effortless, it simply is. A lie, however, must be manufactured. It requires energy, it requires a performance. And it is in the frantic, hidden preparations for that performance that the entire play is revealed. To see this is to move from listening with your ears to observing with your soul. You are no longer a passive audience member waiting for the story to be told. You are the director, watching the actor backstage, fidgeting with his costume, mouthing his lines, his face a mask of concentration before he ever steps into the light. This is where the secret lies, not in the spoken falsehood, but in the silent, desperate architecture of its creation. We have been taught to look for the tells of a lie, the averted eyes, the fidgeting hands, the nervous sweat. But these are the footprints left in the snow after the creature has already passed. They are evidence of what was. I am telling you to look for the creature itself as it gathers itself to leap. The lie is revealed not in the reaction to a question, but in the microscopic pause before the answer. It is in this chasm of a single second that the whole truth of a person's intention is laid bare. The body, you see, is an older, more honest creature than the calculating mind. The mind is a brilliant but slow politician, crafting its policies and speeches. The body is the populace. It reacts instantly with raw, primal emotion. When you ask a difficult question, you are not really addressing the person's intellect. You are striking a deep, resonant bell in their core. An honest person feels that bell ring and lets the sound emerge, pure and clear. It might be a sound of confusion, of anger, of sadness, or of simple fact, but it is authentic. It flows in a straight line. A dishonest person feels that same bell ring, but their first instinct is not to let the sound out. It is to muffle it, to smother it. The mind, that clumsy puppeteer, scrambles to take control, to stop the body's honest reaction and replace it with a fabricated one. But it's too late. The initial, honest tremor has already gone through the system. You are not looking for the lie. You are looking for the effort to construct it. You are watching the struggle between the primal, truthful body and the strategic, deceitful mind. And in that silent, split-second war, the body always fires the first shot. This is the essence of what the great observers of power have always known. It is a truth that bypasses words and goes straight to the heart of human motivation.
As the Florentine master Niccolo Machiavelli himself observed, men are driven by two principal impulses, either by love or by fear. Think about that. A lie is almost never a casual act. It is a strategy, a desperate maneuver born of one of two great engines of human action, fear or desire. Fear of consequence, fear of losing face, fear of punishment. Or desire for gain, for advantage, for a prize they do not deserve. When you pose a question that threatens to expose them, you are putting pressure on one of these two engines. The lie that is about to be formed is a shield against that fear, or a tool to achieve that desire. It is a weapon, and before any weapon is fired, it must first be drawn and aimed. It is that act, the drawing of the weapon, that you must learn to see. So, how does it appear? This flicker of intent before the answer. It is not one thing, but a symphony of tells played in the space of a heartbeat. First, watch the eyes. The eyes are not merely windows to the soul, they are the stage upon which the mind's frantic work is performed. When an honest person is asked a question, their eyes might go distant as they access a memory, a real event.
It is a calm, steady search. But when a person is about to lie, the gaze will often break. It will flicker, a rapid, almost imperceptible dart to the side, or a sudden defocusing. It is not the calm search for a memory. It is a panicked search for an escape route, not in the room, but in the mind. The brain is literally building the stage set for the fiction it is about to perform, and for a split second, the eyes reveal the blueprints. They are looking at a blank canvas and furiously painting a scene. Then there are the micro-gestures, the body's failed attempts at self-soothing. The lie creates immense internal pressure. The body, in its wisdom, tries to release it. Think of the hand that rises, as if of its own accord, to touch the neck, the lip, or the earlobe. It is not a conscious gesture. It is the body saying, "This is uncomfortable. Protect me." The gesture happens before the lie is spoken because the discomfort exists before the lie is spoken. The discomfort is the decision to lie. The man who is about to deny his betrayal might touch his wedding ring, not out of guilt for the act, but out of the immediate, visceral stress of having to conceal it.
The employee about to feign ignorance of a mistake might subtly rub his forehead as if to physically wipe away the knowledge he is about to deny. These are not the gestures of a liar, they are the gestures of a person under the immense strain of becoming one. And finally, listen, not to the words, but to the sound that comes before them, the intonation before the word. The truth comes out on a normal exhalation, riding a natural wave of breath. A lie often follows a subtle but distinct shift in breathing. There might be a sharp, quiet intake of air, as if the person is about to dive into cold water. Or there will be a preparatory clearing of the throat, not a cough, but a tiny, dry scrape. It is not to clear phlegm. It is to buy a microsecond of time for the mind to catch up with the body's panic. The pitch of the voice in the very first syllable might be a fraction higher or lower than their normal tone. It is the sound of a motor turning over, struggling to start on a cold morning. The engine of deceit takes a moment to warm up, and you can hear that strain. Combine these, the flicker of the eyes, the ghost of a gesture, the hitch in the breath.
They all occur in that silent abyss between your question and their answer. It is a moment of profound, terrible stillness. But beneath the surface, it is a hurricane of frantic mental activity. To the untrained eye, it is just a pause. To the trained observer, it is a full confession. Write in the comments if you noticed the lie even before the person replied. This principle, that action and preparation reveal more than any statement, is a cornerstone of understanding power and human dynamics. The words people choose are armor, polished and presented for the world. Their behavior is the vulnerable flesh beneath. As Machiavelli also wrote, in his own way, the vulgar crowd is always taken by appearances, and the world is composed of the vulgar. He understood that most people only pay attention to the finished product, the well-told lie, the convincing performance. They are captivated by the appearance. But the wise man disregards the appearance and looks at the foundation it is built upon. He knows behavior reveals the truth faster than words, because behavior is instinct and words are artifice. The appearance is the lie. The effort to create that appearance is the truth. This offer before the answer manifests in ways that are as subtle as they are certain. Learn to see them, and you will never be truly deceived again. Watch for the flash freeze. A person who is relaxed and open will maintain a certain fluidity of motion. When you ask a question that triggers the need for a lie, their body will often momentarily freeze. It's a primal, animalistic response, the deer in the headlights. For a fraction of a second, all movement ceases as the brain reroutes all its energy from the body to the urgent task of fabrication. The shoulders lock. The hands stop their casual gesture. It is a momentary, almost imperceptible rigor mortis the instant before the puppet strings of the lie are picked up. Listen for the broken seal of silence. The silence of someone thinking of a truthful answer is a productive silence. It feels calm, like a quiet workshop. The silence before a lie is a tense, brittle silence. It is the sound of a vacuum. And when the person finally speaks, the first word often breaks that silence unnaturally. It might come out too loud or too soft. It pierces the silence rather than flowing from it. It's the sound of a seal being broken, releasing the pressure that has been building. Feel the shift in the air. An honest interaction, even a confrontational one, has a certain energetic clarity. A lie muddies the water. In the moment before the lie is spoken, you will feel a change in the dynamic. The person who was connected to you, engaged in the conversation, will suddenly, subtly withdraw. They are no longer in a dialogue with you. They are in a dialogue with themselves, rehearsing and approving the fiction. They are, for that instant, alone in their own head, and you can feel that sudden wall go up between you. It is a profound and lonely coldness. If you've ever seen this, please like it. I remember standing in the boardroom of a company I was advising. The CEO, a man with a reputation for ruthless efficiency, was presenting quarterly results. On paper, they were spectacular. The numbers soared. But the company's foundation was rotting from the inside out, a fact I had uncovered and which he was expertly hiding from his board. He was a master of the game, confident, eloquent, his speech a fortress of data and projections. The board was mesmerized. I waited until he was done. I let the applause die down. Then, in the quiet that followed, I asked a single, simple question. I didn't accuse him. I didn't present my evidence. I just asked, "Charles, was all of the fourth quarter revenue booked from fully completed contracts, or were some of them projected forward?" It was a simple yes or no question. But I wasn't looking at his mouth. I was looking at his neck. For the briefest of moments, before any thought of a reply could have possibly formed, a single vein on the right side of his neck pulsed. Once, a hard, visible throb. It was a surge of pure, uncut adrenaline. His body, his ancient and honest body, had screamed danger. His eyes, for a nanosecond, lost their focus on me and flickered down and to his left, to the domain of fabrication. His shoulders, which had been relaxed and expansive, tightened by a millimeter, pulling inward, a subconscious act of shielding. Then the mask snapped back into place. A slow, confident smile spread across his lips. He let out a small, dismissive chuckle. "Of course, my friend," he said, his voice as smooth as polished marble. "Everything is by the book. You know me." But I did know him. And I knew he was lying. Not because of his answer, which was flawless. I knew because his body had already given me the real answer. In that single, violent pulse of a vein. In that silent, split-second confession before the first word was ever spoken. The fortress of his words was impenetrable, but the gatekeeper of his body had betrayed him before the drawbridge was even raised. This is the nature of man, a creature of dual motives, constantly at war with himself. We want to be seen as honest, but we want the fruits of dishonesty more. We crave respect, but we fear the truth that would deny us that respect. This internal conflict is the human condition, as Machiavelli so brilliantly articulated. Men are so simple of mind and so much dominated by their immediate needs that a deceitful man will always find plenty of people who will let themselves be deceived. He's not just talking about the gullible. He's talking about our own deep-seated desire to believe what is easy. It is easier to believe the smooth, well-told lie than to see the ugly, twitching effort that precedes it. But once you see it, you cannot unsee it.
You begin to understand the practical difference between how honest people and behavior managers react. An honest person, when confronted with a difficult question, processes it externally. Their reaction is transparent. If they are confused, their face shows confusion. If they are offended, you feel the heat of their anger. If they need a moment to think, their silence is open and contemplative. Their body and their mind are in alignment. Their silence is a space for thought, not for construction. This creates trust, even if the answer is one you don't want to hear. Their silence is a canvas being studied, not a wall being built. A behavior manager, on the other hand, the person who is about to lie, processes internally. Their first reaction is hidden, smothered. What you see is the second reaction, the curated, managed performance. Their silence is not for thinking, it is for rehearsing. This creates a subtle but profound sense of anxiety. You feel a disconnect. You are speaking to a representative, a press secretary, not the person themselves. This is why the silence before their answer is so much louder than the answer itself. It is pregnant with the effort, the tension, the sheer work of their deception. Write down if you have encountered people who can be read even before the words. The liar believes he is building a wall to hide behind. He doesn't realize he is building it out of glass. The very act of concealment becomes the ultimate act of revelation. The more he tries to control the narrative, the more his body betrays the struggle. The more he polishes his words, the more the strain shows in the flicker of his eyes and the tension in his jaw. This is the great paradox of human interaction, a truth Machiavelli understood to his bones. For in truth, there is no sure way of guarding against flattery than by letting men understand that they will not offend you by speaking the truth. And conversely, when you make it clear that a lie is the only safe harbor, a person reveals everything about themselves in their desperate attempt to reach it. The effort to hide becomes the very thing that shines a spotlight on the truth. To see this is not to become cynical or mistrusting. It is the opposite. It is to become calm. You are no longer tossed about on the waves of people's words. You are anchored to the bedrock of human nature. You become more attentive, not to what people say, but to who they are. You become harder to deceive, not because you are suspicious, but because you are observant. This brings a kind of strength, a quiet confidence in your own judgment. It fosters a deep self-respect because you are no longer a victim of appearances. You are a reader of intentions. You are no longer playing their game. You are observing it from a position of profound understanding. If such deep insights into human nature are important to you, subscribe. The most important thing is ahead. The world is a stage, but most people only arrive for the third act after the characters are established and the plot is in motion. They believe what they are told. The man who understands this secret, however, has been there since the beginning. He watched the stage being set, he saw the actors hiding in the wings, and he heard the true story in the silence before the first line was ever spoken. He doesn't need to be told who the villain is, he already knows. If you agree that the lie is visible before the words, write "I see" in the comments, like and subscribe so as not to miss the main thing. Chapter 2. The air in the boardroom grew dense, heavy with the unspoken. Charles's carotid artery, that frantic little drummer of the truth, pulsed a rhythm of pure panic against his starched collar. His eyes, having completed their desperate, silent search for an escape route, finally settled back on mine. The entire universe of his fabrication, the fear that spawned it, the desire that fueled it, was laid bare in that single, shimmering second of silence. And then he spoke. The words that emerged were smooth, polished stones, worn into shape by hours of clandestine rehearsal. "The quarter's results are not just solid, Marcus," he said, his voice a carefully calibrated instrument of confidence. "They are a testament to this team's resilience. Every metric is accounted for. The projections are sound." He even managed a thin, predatory smile, a pantomime of a leader unburdened by doubt. The rest of the board, captives of the auditory world, nodded. They heard the confident tone, they registered the familiar corporate jargon. They were placated by the performance because they were listening for the answer. They were not watching the man. They did not see what I saw, the architecture of the lie being hastily erected. I saw the blueprints of panic in his eyes, and now I was watching as he frantically slapped on the stucco of reassuring words. His body was the terrified foundation, trembling and unstable, while his mind acted as the frantic contractor, trying to build a palace upon a fault line. This is the next secret you must understand. Once you have seen the lie before it is spoken, the most powerful tool at your disposal is not accusation. It is silence. An amateur, drunk on the discovery of deceit, would have pounced. They would have pointed to the numbers, raised their voice, and turned the boardroom into a courtroom. They would have sought the vulgar satisfaction of a public unmasking. This is a fool's gambit. To expose a liar in the heat of their performance is to grant them the dignity of a battle. You give them an enemy to fight, a target for their prepared deflections, and an audience to sway. You descend to their level, engaging in a squalid brawl of his word against yours. A master does not wrestle with the actor on his own stage. He simply sits in the audience, watching, and allows the actor's own frantic energy to collapse the set around him. So, I did nothing. I did not challenge his numbers. I did not counter his statement. I held his gaze, my expression unchanging, my posture relaxed. I offered him a vast, empty expanse of silence. And into that void he felt compelled to build. Nature abhors a vacuum, but a liar finds it utterly terrifying. My silence was not an absence of sound, it was a presence. It was a mirror reflecting his own internal chaos. He had prepared for a fight, for objections, for debate. He had not prepared for the unnerving calm of being truly seen. In fact, he continued, his voice a fraction too loud now, filling the space I had refused to occupy. If you look at the profit margins in the supplemental report, you'll see the efficiency gains we've made are unprecedented. He gestured toward the glossy booklet in front of us, but his hand trembled slightly, a subtle tremor that betrayed the forced certainty of his tone. He was adding rooms to his fragile house of cards. The initial lie, the projections or sound, was the foundation. Now came the unnecessary details, the gilded flourishes, the ornate tapestry of supporting falsehoods. He spoke of synergistic acquisitions that were still months away, and emerging market penetration that was, I knew for a fact, a complete fabrication. With every word, he was not convincing me, he was imprisoning himself. Each new data point was another bar on his own cage. The other board members, still listening, were now beginning to shift uncomfortably. The performance was becoming too much. The smooth confidence had curdled into a desperate verbose sales pitch. The lie, under the pressure of my silence, was overextending itself. It was becoming baroque, grotesque. The effort to maintain it was now visible, leaking from the corners of his composure. The sweat on his brow was no longer a subtle sheen, it was a confession. Machiavelli understood this principle of strategic inaction. He wrote, The lion cannot protect himself from traps, and the fox cannot defend himself from wolves.
One must therefore be a fox to recognize traps and a lion to frighten wolves. The common man reads this and thinks the lion must always roar. The true student of power understands that the lion's most terrifying attribute is its stillness. The roar is for the hunt, for the kill. But its silent, patient, predatory crouch, the promise of violence held in reserve, is what truly commands the jungle. In that boardroom, I was the fox who had recognized the trap of Charles's lie, but I chose to be the lion in repose, letting the sheer weight of my observation become its own threat. I did not need to frighten him with a roar. My silence was its own form of pressure, squeezing the truth from him without laying a hand on his artifice. By the time Charles finished his monologue, he was breathless. He had built a towering, nonsensical edifice of deceit in the center of the room, and he now stood within it, exhausted and exposed. He had done my work for me. I finally broke the silence. My voice was quiet, measured. "Thank you, Charles," I said. "That was very thorough." The word hung in the air, thorough. It was not an accusation, yet it was not an acquittal. It was a judgment. The rest of the board understood. The spell was broken. They were no longer listening to his words. They were looking at the man, and they saw what I had seen from the beginning, a hollow thing, propped up by fear and crumbling under the weight of its own fabrications. The meeting concluded shortly thereafter. No votes were taken, no decisions were made, but the war was over. Charles had lost not when I asked the question, but when he chose to answer it with a lie, and then chose to compound that lie under the pressure of my gaze. He was a dead man walking, and he would be formally removed from his position within a week, not by my hand, but by the slow, inevitable collapse of his own creation. Remember this: the knowledge of a lie is a currency. Do not spend it on the cheap thrill of exposure. That is the impulse of the ego, the need to be proven right. True power lies in holding that knowledge as an asset. You let it accumulate interest, granting you control, strategic advantage, and the quiet authority that comes from knowing the reality beneath the performance. You are not the inquisitor forcing a confession. You are the silent observer, allowing the liar to become his own executioner. You give them the rope, and they, in their desperation to convince you, will fashion their own noose. This is the art of wielding silence as a weapon. It is more precise than any accusation, and more devastating than any argument. If you have understood this lesson, if you have ever felt the immense power that resides not in speaking, but in letting the other person's falsehoods echo in a space you refuse to fill, write "I hold the silence" in the comments. Let us see who among you are ready to move beyond merely seeing the truth and into the realm of mastering it.